Hey, how you doing? This is RJ. I have people leaving comments in my Captain Marvel videos and in other videos about the Captain Marvel movie, and they're asking questions like, why are people so concerned with this movie? And I would say I am so concerned with this movie because of the fact that Marvel Comics and Marvel Studios with the MCU, I think, is now so intricately connected that the future of the MCU will determine whether or not we can get Marvel Comics in the future that actually concentrate on good storytelling rather than what they do now, which is just push an agenda. Now, I still hold out some sliver of hope that we can have a healthy Marvel comic industry in the future. And the only reason I hold out that sliver of hope is because I know that with a healthy Marvel Comics, there is a much more healthy comic industry. There's no disputing that. So what I'm going to go over is basically a fan theory about what I believe is going to happen in the Marvel Universe after Avengers Endgame. And I'm going to give you specifics about what I think is going to happen, but the only reason why I'm giving specifics is so that the theory sort of has meat on its bones, give you something that you can sink your teeth into. I think it is the pattern behind what I'm going to say that is really important. And I'll go over the pattern afterwards. As long as the pattern holds, it doesn't matter if my specific theory actually holds or not. It's whether or not the pattern of what happens actually holds. Now, originally I had thought because Avengers Endgame is going to have time travel involved in it, which we know from the last movie of Avengers, that there was probably going to be a hard reboot of the MCU and we were going to see some heroes disappear. But it appears from the new trailers coming out for Spider-Man that this is not going to be the case. We can see that Peter Parker is back, so obviously what has happened with Thanos and his snapping everybody away gets reversed, but they also talk about other Avengers, so we're not going to see a large-scale movement of the time stream and what actually happens in the MCU, I don't think, with Avengers Endgame. However, I do believe there is going to be a soft reboot of the characters in the following way. I believe that there is sufficient evidence within the universe and within our universe that Captain America is going to die in Avengers Endgame, and there are some Easter eggs within the last Avengers movie that point to this possibly happening, and the fact that Captain Marvel will simply replace Captain America as the head of the Avengers. And again, I believe that the whole fact that we have Nick Fury so intricately entwined in the Captain Marvel early story that's coming out with this movie, that is just seeding for the Avengers Endgame movie where he trusts her so much and has known her for so long that it's easy for him to put her into the position of the head of the Avengers. And so one of the things that's happening with the actors that points to the fact that Captain America possibly may die in the new Avengers movie is the fact that Chris Evans has deleted his Twitter account. And a lot of people are speculating that this is because with the new Avengers Endgame trailers that are going to come out, number 2 and 3, there's going to be some hints that Captain America is simply not going to survive. And he doesn't want to have to deal with that, and rightly so. So we have that, but that's not the only thing. We also have Robert Downey Jr., who doesn't really want to play Iron Man anymore. We know this because we would have other Iron Man movies. They were huge blockbusters. He just won't commit to that time anymore. I do believe that Iron Man will be relegated to a position as he has in the comics right now, which he will be the old grandfather figure and he'll show up and give people technology and they'll disrespect him and then he'll go away. And Robert Downey Jr. will simply get paid massive amounts of money to make a cameo. And so he's not going to be a main actor in the movies anymore after Avengers Endgame. And we also have in-universe a lot of hints of the other Avengers slowly going their own way. We have Clint, which is Hawkeye, and he already wants to get out of the hero game, and we see him becoming the swordsman in the trailers for the new movie, and I do believe this is the exit for Hawkeye. We also have Black Widow going to have her own solo movie, and I firmly believe again that this is deliberately done by the MCU to try to extract her from the Avengers and simply make her into a solo hero so that she's no longer part of the Avengers. We also have in-universe, we have Scarlet Witch and the Vision trying to extract themselves from the Avengers and trying to go their own way. So I would say in some way, a lot of the characters that we see at the first of Avengers Endgame as being Avengers will simply no longer be Avengers after that. We will see, and this is firmly my belief, that there will be an Avengers movie after this one. It's just too big of a cash cow for Disney to let go. There will be another Avengers movie. You will have Captain Marvel at the head of that movie as the head of the Avengers, and it will be something like the all-new, all-different Avengers. Because, again, we know that Marvel has a slated 14 movies coming out between 2020 and 2023. All right, so this is the part of the reason why this is so important. People say, why can't you just wait until the movie comes out and just leave it at that? Well, because they're already slating these movies 3-4 years in advance. If you actually want a good product, especially for comics, and this is going to affect comics, you got to get on the train early. This is very important. We also know that Captain Marvel, after these two movies of the Captain Marvel movie and Avengers Endgame, she's going to be in minimum another 4 movies after that. So we already know that Captain Marvel is going to play an integral part of the coming MCU. And we also have a few things like Sana Amanat over there at Marvel Comics saying 2019 is the year of Captain Marvel. And I think that's very telling. They don't say it's the summer of Captain Marvel. They say it's the year of Captain Marvel. Because again, I do believe from those statements and other statements put out by Marvel Studios that Captain Marvel will not just become an integral part of the Marvel Universe of the MCU, but she will become the central hero figure for the entire universe. And this is her advent to that position. That's why 2019 will be the year of Captain Marvel. And moving forward from that, here is what I see happening with these all new, all different Avengers. You will have a lot of the characters from the comics that no one likes starting to poke up their head in the movies. You will have it starting slowly, but it will eventually get there. We will have things like Falcon, who is already part of the Avengers, possibly taking over the position of Captain America, which they did in the comics and everyone hated. We will also see Ant-Man and Wasp becoming a more integral part of the Avengers, which we already know is going to happen. And it is my firm belief that you will not see Evangeline Lilly playing Wasp for much longer, and they will get the new Wasp to replace her, and you will have a number of things like this happening. And the reason why I say this is because it appears that Marvel Comics has given up on their dream of becoming a lifestyle brand. If you follow their advertising really closely, which I do, it looks like they've given up on that ship to rescue them. And they can no longer depend upon that, nor can they depend upon things like trade paperbacks to keep them afloat, nor does it appear like their sales to collectors is going to save them either. So what they're going to do to try and jump ship and find another life raft to keep them afloat is they are becoming a seeding mechanism for the movies. And we already see some hints of this, which I talked about in other ones of my videos, where you have things like Carol Danvers becoming part Kree in the comics, which I do believe will have some play within the movies at some time. You have miniseries like the Black Widow miniseries that's coming out, which is to seed the idea in people's minds of Black Widow being a standalone character for when her movie comes out. You have things like Meet the Skrulls, which is coming out, and the issues of Squirrel Girl that are out right now, trying to portray the Skrulls as if they were victims, which will, I think, play a big part in the Captain Marvel movie that is about to come out. So you have a lot of these things, which, as it appears from their advertising and what they are doing in conjunction with Marvel Studios, that they are seeding these ideas from the comics so that people get used to them, so that they will eventually come out in the movies. And with that, I firmly believe also that the current roster of Avengers within the Marvel comic universe was not picked at random or because of any creative choice. It was picked so that it could seed some of these characters into the minds of people as being the next Avengers that will take over within the MCU. I would say that you're probably going to see She-Hulk becoming the new Hulk in the MCU and taking over for Mark Ruffalo, not being called She-Hulk, being called Hulk like she was in the recent books, which again, everybody hated. And you're going to get the Marika Tamaki She-Hulk because, of course, just like the Captain Marvel character, the MCU has said, we are not going to deal with any of that backstory. We're just going to create our character based upon the new Captain Marvel as she has has existed for the last couple of years. So when they bring in more characters like that, they're going to concentrate on these newer versions of the characters, which is the danger. Because once they start doing that, they will also start to draw in some of these newer characters. They are starting to push Nova in the comics, and Nova can be brought into the MCU very easily because of the Nova Corps. We already have them in there for a number of movies, and it's not going to be the Nova that everybody knows from Marvel history. He's going to be Kid Nova, I would say, or at the very least, his temperament and his personality is going to be that of Kid Nova. And you're going to see a lot of these other smaller characters come into play. A lot of these characters from, say, the Champions, which they are now talking about and touting as the next generation of Avengers within the comics, and trying to bring that into people's minds. You're going to see these people slowly become the Avengers in the movie theater. And again, that's the real danger of what's going on here. Because no one likes these characters in the comics. No one likes these new characters. No one likes the new iteration of these characters, like Sam Wilson's Captain America or the new Marika Tamaki She-Hulk. No one likes them. And if you want to argue with me about that in the comments, then post something substantial. Because I would say, if you look at the sales numbers of their books and the fact that these characters are getting their books canceled again and again, it proves that people don't want them. If you want to prove otherwise, show me good numbers for sales. Show me a character that hasn't had their book canceled like this. So, as I said at the first, it's the underlying pattern of what I see happening that I think is essential, not the specifics of each character, but the underlying pattern. And I do believe we have enough evidence for the underlying pattern that the current version of the Avengers will be phased out very heavily with the end of Avengers Endgame, and we will see an all-new, all-different Avengers coming in to the MCU fairly soon, with Captain Marvel at the head of that. And again, all we have to look at is the fact that Captain Marvel is going to be in 6 slated movies, and to look at the upcoming movies and the upcoming commitments of the actors who are now playing the current Avengers. That's all you have to do to see that phasing out of the old and phasing in of something new. And further, we don't have to wait 5 years, 10 years in order to see if this is going to happen. All we have to do is wait until the Captain Marvel movie comes out. Because I, again, am firmly of the belief that everyone at Marvel Comics is sitting on a stack of lines pre-prepared for them to say as soon as the movie comes out, and they're going to say, see, look, this character of Captain Marvel, which we've been putting in the comics for a number of years, and people have been saying, get this character out of there, no one likes her. See, look, she is doing so well right now, that justifies everything and all of the bad storytelling, they won't say that part, all of the bad storytelling that we have been using for the last number of years to push this character. Again, this is what I believe is going to happen as soon as the movie comes out, no matter how well it does or how poorly it does. They are sitting on these scripted lines, and they will say that at Marvel Comics. This is the significant danger, and all we have to do is wait a couple of months until the Captain Marvel movie comes out to see if they do this. Because when they do this, they will start to prepare lines of a similar nature for all of the other failed characters that they have in their stock. All of their quote-unquote progressive characters, and they're going to push for them more and more to get into the movies so that they can justify their poor existence within the comics. And again, if this happens, if they are allowed to do this, they will effectively have jumped ship onto a new life raft so that they can say that their poor storytelling is actually justified. That is to say, they're pushing an agenda over actual good storytelling is quite justified because these characters are going to do well. And we've already seen people like, again, Sana Amanat use this tactic in other ways for characters. She said quite specifically that America Chavez was a success even though her book kept on being canceled because they got people to actually order the trade paperbacks. But in another interview, she lets out the fact that all of those ordering of the trade paperbacks comes through library associations and parent associations, which don't actually read the book, but order it on the concept that they promote to them. So she's already used this tactic to say, look, I can justify those characters and they're actually a success. And she says that they're actually a success to her, even if they are canceled and have low selling numbers. And she specifically says that. So this is the tactic that they are going to continue to use, and they're going to try to bolster it with the movies. And the reason why the movies are going to allow them to do that is because Marvel Comics is simply positioning itself in a way so that it will seed ideas for the movies, and it will be a kind of pre-advertisement for the advertisements for the movies, so that the movies supposedly will do well. And this is the vicious circle that I see coming with the Captain Marvel movie, which we'll be able to tell whether or not this is the case in a couple of months, which will mean the death of all good storytelling at Marvel and simply their renewed push of an agenda over storytelling. And I know this is a long video, but I really feel I have to put this at the end, because I have a friend, and he said, you're just promoting the Captain Marvel movie. I really feel like I have to go see the movie, he said, because you're telling me all of these things about it. I don't want to support this movie, but I really feel like I have to go see it in order to understand everything that's going to happen in Avengers Endgame. And then he came up with this idea to actually go and see the movie and not support it at the same time, because he doesn't want to pirate it. And I don't think he came up with this himself. I'm pretty sure he got it off the internet. But this is what he's going to do. And I'll just leave you with this story of my friend. What he is going to do is, because he feels he needs to go see it, but doesn't want to support it, he's going to go to the multiplex and he's going to purchase a ticket for another movie, not Captain Marvel, and simply go see Captain Marvel instead of that movie. And that way he goes and sees the movie, but he doesn't actually support the making of this movie. So that's what my friend plans to do. What you want to do with that information, that's up to you. So if I gave you anything new to think about, hit like, hit the shield in the lower right hand corner of your screen to subscribe, and leave me a comment. Tell me whether or not you see this playing out within both the Marvel Comics and the MCU. Alright, I'll see you later. Bye.